Welcome, Mindsetters. You know what, guys? This is actually a very, very special session today. Like, we are on a mission of note.
It's going to happen.
It's going to be so epic. It's going to happen. Indy's even here with me, you know.
I know, look at it.
Never
No,
happens.
just look at
And-
this,
and
because Indy's here today, she clearly gets the hug and I don't. Not fair, not fair,
you
not
see,
fair.
It's all about the love today. It's all about the love today. Because today is a
Exactly.
special session.
Why
Indy,
is
tell
that?
us.
Oh, okay. You want me to tell you guys. Guys, we are on a mission for 10,000, and I'm telling you, we are going to reach it today. So what you need to do is you need to tell all of your friends, your teachers, your parents to like the page. What we are trying to create is a little online community just for you guys to ask questions and to learn extra and learn more. So, but don't forget, we're also here for a good reason. We're here for Learn Extra Live, Life Science with Kathy, and grade 10s. I can see
I'm
that
glad you didn't forget that part.
I know, yeah. There's,
Okay,
there's the part of
Celebrate,
teaching.
play, have fun. But guys, we need your attention, but we also need you to go click, click, click on like, because we need what? It's about 70 more.
Yeah,
Exactly.
should we have a look on the
Yeah,
Facebook
let's have a
page?
look.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Hey?
Look at
Okay,
that. So
look,
close.
people.
So
Yeah.
close.
9,927. Yeah, so what I would like you to do, Kathy, I want to show you, because there's a little bit of healthy competition going on the page. We've got Noxopedia.
Oh, look, we've
on the
also got a very nice photo of
I
all of us here.
There's
So
Andy
peeping
in the
out.
corner.
Indy's peeping in the corner. It's like Kilroy.
I'm telling
Okay.
you. If you click on recent posts, have a
See,
look.
all that.
See, Steffi's
Go
already
down.
saying that she's waving. I'm going to say hi, Steffi, and thanks for joining in. I know that you're going to get all of your friends to like the page and to join in on the lesson. Don't forget, facebook.com/learn extra. Also chat us on Twitter @learn extra. Let's reach that 10,000, guys. And who knows, there might be a little surprise, because I know that you all really like surprises.
Oh,
and
hold on,
that's-
and Koketso here says that she assumes that it's Ty and Kathy today. Hun, you assumed right. We make an awesome team.
Hey,
You do,
hey,
you do. Like, we have
God, I'm
fun.
gonna
I know,
cry.
like, Indy,
I'm
Indy's
getting.
just here just for today, you know.
Stop
then we're gonna
hugging
kick
her.
her out of it.
Stop
Exactly,
hugging her.
exactly.
I want
I'm
a
trying
hug.
to be
I want a hug. I want a hug. You can hug us both.
Yeah, hug us
Yeah.
both.
I'm in an awesome sandwich right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
guys,
so- yeah.
guys,
what-
make sure you guys stay tuned. We're still gonna have fun, but we still have a lesson to do. So guys, make sure you come back after this ad break.
See you
soon.
now.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back, Mindsetters, to this very special session. I'm here with Kathy, who's going to be doing the lesson. Guys, I hope you're ready, paying attention. You've got your pens, your pads, and your phones in hand, because you need to be telling your friends to also like the page and join you on the show as well. But for now, Kathy, I think we've got a lesson to do.
Thanks, darling. You see, old people like me could never sit there with cell phone, SMSing friends, and Facebooking, and paying attention, and. We can only sort of focus on one thing. But yeah, it's brilliant that you can multitask like you guys can. It's the new generation. I know that my kids type faster, or could type faster on their cell phone little keypad than I could do on a typewriter or a computer. What do you call that?
Keyboard.
Oh, for heaven's sake. See, old. All right, people, support and transport systems in plants. Now, the grade 11s that are watching are going to say, Kath, you did that like 2-3 weeks ago with us. Yes, I did, because you know what they've done? For the new CAPS, which is the new syllabus, they've moved this from grade 11 to grade 10, which is great, because here it's a grounding and it's a basis for you. Now, you'll also recall that we went through all the different types of cells, because your syllabus, especially here with this section, we focus on from cells and the cells of organelles, and then your different types of cells, and the different types of cells make up tissues, the different tissues make up organs, the different organs make up systems in our body, and the different systems make you, and it makes you work and function, and everything happens perfectly. All right, so now at this point we're looking at the whole support and transport systems in plants. Now, if you think about that, support, if you've got a little plant that grows this tall, it's fine. But when it gets any bigger than that, you don't want it to just flop over. It has to have some kind of support mechanism so that we can get the water from the soil to the leaves so the leaves can photosynthesize. So use your common sense here. It's actually very easy. And a lot of it incorporates what we've already done when we did the plant and the animal cell and then the different animal tissue and plant tissue. We're now looking at how that plant tissue works together to make a plant that can actually support itself. All right, so having said all of that, it's good to know where things come from and what the basis is. We're looking at support and transport systems in plants. Now, the first thing you need to look at here is that plants have an internal skeleton, just like we do. We have an internal skeleton, and if I said to you, feel your fingers, feel your hands, feel your arms, you can feel your skeleton. Now, exactly the same thing happens here. There is a skeleton. And that skeleton is made up of tissue, which is specialized cells, which then gives the plant its whole support and structure. But it's also the water in each cell which makes the cells turgid. And I'm going to write that word just here. I'm going to make a little block, and you need to know the word turgid. And turgid, for lack of a better way to explain it to you, means that the cell is full. It's got all the water and liquid in its cell, in its cytoplasm and in the vacuole, and that water pushes from the inside outwards, and then the cell wall pushes inwards. And when those two pressures are equal, because you don't have to know the detail, but just so that you understand, when those two pressures from the inside pushing outwards and the outside pushing inwards, when that is equal, then we say the cell is turgid, which really means it is full to capacity. And that also gives it its nice firm shape. All right, so they have an internal skeleton, and why do they need this? They need it for strength and they need it for support, so they don't just flop over. Where do they get this from? They get it from the xylem tissue. All right, now we've done the xylem. Remember, the xylem had those very, very, very thick cell walls, and we're going to go through that just now, the structure versus function of the xylem. And we had the suberin making these cell walls completely thick, the long straws, etc. We have the sclerenchyma, and people, please, you've got to remember, sclerenchyma had incredibly thick cell walls to a point where those cells inside were dead. Okay, they were, or rather non-living. And all the structure was in the walls of those cells. And then we have water, and as I explained, turgidity. So if we look at turgidity, just quickly, there's your cell wall. And then pressing right up against the cell wall, you'll have your cell membrane. And then you'll have your nice large vacuole. Remember, the vacuole had cell sap. So the pressure pushing outwards from the contents of the cell pushing against the cell wall, which pushes inwards. And when those two pressures are equal, then the cell is turgid. So we talk about the turgidity of the cells. Now, plants have an internal transport system. And if you recall, when we did the xylem tissue, I said to you that imagine xylem tissue and the transporting of water up the plant is like our lymphatic system, where the fluid, the lymph fluid, travels from your bottom of your feet all the way up your body and into a junction over here. All right. But that's, so the xylem carrying the water, and then what happens? The main reason why we have the water is to get it to the leaves. So we have to get the plant has to suck that water up. And there are various factors which help to get the water up the plant so that it can be used in the leaf. And when it gets to the leaf, a lot of it passes out because of that sucking motion of transpiration, but some of it stays in the leaf. And when it's in those leaf cells, the cells can then use it to photosynthesize, which happens in the chloroplasts. So can you see how everything is now starting to fit together as a puzzle? You know, when you pack a puzzle, you put the corners, then you put the straight sides, and then you start filling in various little pictures. Well, that's what we're doing now. Okay, so what is this internal transport? Remember, the xylem is responsible for water and mineral salts. which is absorbed and dissolved in the water. And then we have the phloem tissue. Now, the phloem tissue in the leaf, the plant is now, the leaves are going to, the chloroplasts are there, and they're going to photosynthesize. And when they photosynthesize, they're going to produce oxygen, which passes out of the leaf, and also glucose. And that glucose will then be stored as starch. Now, in some plants, the leaves are storage organs, in some the roots are storage organs, and in some the stems are storage organs. All right. So you need to think about, when we eat celery, what are we eating? We're eating the leaves and the stem. When we eat a carrot, we're eating the root. So we are eating what the plant has stored for itself. And so the phloem carries xylem, water, and mineral salts up the plant only. And phloem carries water, mineral salts, I'm just going to put MS, and also nutrients like glucose. And that's going to go up and down the plant, so it can be stored. All right, then we have diffusion and we have osmosis. All right, now diffusion is anything that moves from where there's lots to where there's less, so a higher concentration to a lower concentration, and it moves along that concentration gradient until there is an equilibrium. Okay? Whereas osmosis is the movement of water only from a higher water potential, in other words, there are less solutes, to a lower water potential where there are more solutes, along that concentration gradient, so it's downhill, okay? But it has to move through a semi-permeable membrane. If there is not a semi-permeable membrane, then it's diffusion. All right, so what we are looking at here is that the first thing you need to remember is that plants are autotrophic. Now, people, these are terms you must know. And if we look at it, we've already spoken about it, but just to remind you, auto means on its own. Trophic is to feed. So if it is autotrophic, it means the plant makes its own food. All right, autotrophic. Versus heterotrophic, and heterotrophic would be us. We can't make food on our own, so we have to take food and put it in our mouths and digest it to get the nutrients. Whereas a plant is autotrophic, it makes its own food. All right, so, and because they are autotrophic, we say that they are producers in our food pyramid. And I did a very, very simple one here, just to show you, but your decomposers would be things like fungi, and algae, etc. All right, and your bacteria, I may as well put bacteria too. All right, all those little goodies that make things rot. And then you've got your producers. This is any and everything that is autotrophic. In other words, all the organisms that are able to make their own food. And all your consumers, remember you've got pretty much three groups of consumers here. You had herbivores, which are your primary consumers, and then you had carnivores, and then you had let's fix that, omnivores. But your consumers were primary, secondary, tertiary, and you can go up all the way up, all right, but sort of the breakdown. Groupings. Herbivores only eat plants, carnivores eat meat, and omnivores eat both. Okay? And all of these here would be not autotrophic, but heterotrophic. Okay? Heterotrophic. In other words, they need something else to make the food, and they will then take the food from there. What's also very important is that plants because they photosynthesize and are autotrophic, they are the producers within the food web, but they are also of economic value to us, apart from being food, okay? They, and I just mentioned a couple here, and I'm sure you don't even have to learn this. You'll pick it up like this. Just use your common sense. That's why I love this subject, because so much of it is just common sense, really. All right, so we make paper and fabric from certain plants, and rope from your sisal plants, and wicker, cane for furniture. We use any trees that have secondary growth or secondary thickening, which we have to teach you as well, and you have to learn. That secondary thickening, we take those wooden bits and pieces of stem, and we build houses, and we make firewood, and we make cartons and boxes, and just think of all the things, matches, all the things we can make with wood. Right, so that's just basic common sense, and this would be quite a nice little question for you that your teachers could ask. Now, if we look at anatomy of, now look at this. Di means two. Cotyledonous, it's two cotyledon plants. So you get plants that have one cotyledon and plants that have two cotyledons. And what I've done is I've done a table for you, which I'm going to show you on the next slide, which Ty and Indy or John, one of the three of them, will put on to Facebook for you. And just learn it. Make sure that you know the difference between the two. All right, now, if we look at anatomy of dicotyledonous plants, only the angiosperms are divided into mono, means one, and dicotyledonous means two plants. So angiosperms are all your flowering plants. So if we look at, if you recall a couple of weeks ago, we would have gone through the basic classification process. And we're doing it specially or specifically in the grade 11 syllabus, where we say, hold on, we've got all these different organism classifications. We've got viruses which don't fit anywhere. And then you've got the plant kingdom, you've got the animal kingdom, you've got the fungus type plants, you've got the, all your protistas, etc., etc. All of those fall into your 5-kingdom classification. Now here we have the most advanced part or section of all plants, and that is your angiosperms. So angiosperms actually means flowering plants. And if a plant produces flowers, it is going to produce fruit, and it's going to produce seeds. Because what is the function of fruit? And it's to look after and protect the seeds. And where do we get it all? Well, we've got the flowers, and the flowers are going to have the male parts and the female parts so that sexual reproduction can take place. All right. So angiosperm are divided into monocots and dicots, and they are the most highly developed plants that we have, or kingdom of plants. And all I did here was I took a pretty picture of a flower, and there are your leaves, and your leaves are going to be for photosynthesis. I'm going to leave the yellow, I think, or let's go with the white. That's for photosynthesis. Okay, you've got the petals here, and the petals are going to be to attract insects. And why would we attract the insects? Because we want pollination. Okay, in other words, specifically we want cross-pollination. Now what is pollination? Well, the male parts, the stamens, which are all these little guys sitting all around here, okay, they have pollen, which carry the male gametes. Okay, now remember, with fertilization, with sexual reproduction, you need male gametes, female gametes. We put the two together, and male, female gamete, put the two together, and then we end up with a diploid zygote. So haploid male gamete, haploid female gamete, diploid zygote, which then grows into the embryo, and that is inside the seed. All right, so, and then sitting right in the middle here, and I will mark it with the little asterisks, that is where your female parts of the plant are. So you've got all of these structures to make sure that after pollination, we are going to eventually have, after a whole bunch of things that happen, fertilization. And fertilization is going to give us a diploid zygote. And that's going to be develop into an embryo. Embryo is going to be sitting in the seed. You're going to have the fruit, which we eat, which at the end of the day, that fruit is there to protect the little seeds. Just think of when you eat an apple. Okay, Ty, I think we're due for an ad break, hey?
I think so.
Yeah.
So guys, you know the drill. Make sure you just go grab something to eat, grab a snack, maybe grab some cake. You know, we never know when we hit 10,000. And I think if I'm feeling in a good mood, I might just do a little dance. Because a little fact that you might not know about me, I actually dance with a crew called Clinch. And we've been around for a while. So I don't know, I might do a little jiggle, a little dance here. If we hit 10,000 though. So make sure you tell your friends, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell another friend, to tell their friends to like the page. But for now, we'll see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. You know what? I hope you're ready. I hope you had a nice little break. I hope you've got your pens, your pads out. And guys, besides the fact that we're trying to hit 10,000, still remember that if you're having any issues, if you're lost anywhere, if you need help, make sure you get on the page and let us know so I can get those issues to Kathy and Kathy can clear it up for you. So guys, you know what? Here we go.
Thanks,
Kathy, take it
darling.
away.
Now, you see, I didn't even know that he could do the thing, you know. But I mean, it's very cute, and he looks very capable of doing things like that. But then, you know what? I've got no rhythm. So anybody who can even do this, I promise you now is better off than I am. No rhythm. Okay, people, now we're looking at the anatomy, and you've got to know this, of a dicotyledonous plant. But in order to understand what a dicotyledonous plant is, I wanted you to also know or have a look at what a monocotyledonous plant is. Now, as we've said, mono would be one cotyledon and di would be two. And let's get a nice color here. So let's make it yellow. Okay, or let's go green, I think. Ty, there we go.
Yes.
Okay, so we have monocotyledon, dicotyledon, we have the leaves. Now, when we look at the leaves of a monocotyledonous plant, think of something like grass, where the leaf, you've got the stem, and then the leaf sort of wraps up around the stem, and the leaf looks like that. And if you look at it, all the veins are parallel. They all run in the same direction. Okay, and the petiole wraps around the stem like that. So there isn't a real, or the base of the leaf, there isn't a real petiole here. So you can't actually distinguish a petiole. Whereas you look here, if that's the stem, the leaf does this, and it's got, oh my gosh, there are thousands of different shapes of leaves for the dicots. Your monocots are all long leaves. When we say they are iso-bilateral, okay? Iso means the same. Bi means two. Lateral, which tells you both sides of that leaf is the same. If you look at the front side or the back side of a leaf of a grass, it's exactly the same. Iso, the same. Bi, two, lateral, both sides. So both sides are the same. On this side, we say it is dorsiventral. The dorsal side is your top side. And then you've got the bottom of the leaf. And it's telling you that the top side and the ventral side, which is the bottom side, they're different. There's no iso there. So monocots, isobilateral, and your dicots are ventral. And if you look at any kind of leaf that doesn't have a straight shape, it's got a sort of a roundish shape or whatever shape it is that you want to look at, and it's dicot, you'll see the top is always much darker than the bottom. And the top, you can't really see the veins. The veins are sort of in, whereas if you look at the bottom, the veins stick out. Here you'll have a parallel venation, which is what I told you. Here you have a net venation. I mean, look at them. And then you'll have other little bits and pieces coming off it like that. Okay? And then also, these are long and slender in shape, whereas these are various shapes. And if you think of all the dicotyledonous plants in the world, they have incredible shapes. You've got like heart shapes, you've got like a card spade shape, you've got little clovery type shapes, etc. Look at the stems, and the stems in a monocot are generally green and herbaceous, which means it's sort of herby. It hasn't got secondary thickening, which is where we have in our dicots, they're woody, and you can actually see the annual rings. Here we have lots of scattered vascular bundles. Now remember, the vascular bundle contains the xylem and the phloem. All right? Whereas here, the vascular bundles are arranged in a beautiful, neat little circle, like that. So you can actually see them, and that is why when you look at wood and a tree's chopped down, and you look at where the tree's been chopped down, you can see all these rings. Those rings are because of the vascular bundles that are arranged in a circle. Then also with your monocot, there is no cambium, and here cambium is present. Now, what do we need cambium for? Can you remember? Come on, we did tissue, we did plant tissue. Cambium was where the meristematic region was as well. And you have brand new, it's sort of like the meristematic region, and you have new cells growing from there. So your cambium will make new xylem and new phloem. And as it makes new phloem cells and new xylem cells, it pushes everything out. And that's what makes the rings that you can see. And then, easy enough, your monocots have adventitious roots. That's a root system that looks like this. If this is the soil and you've got your plant growing up there, the roots do this. All right? They're adventitious, and they can grow very close to the surface, so they don't worry about going deep. Whereas your taproot system, you're going to have your, if that's the soil surface, there's your plant, your taproot grows down that way. And then you'll have your lateral roots, but it's mainly your taproot that grows down. And if you think about all the really huge trees in the world, they need an incredible root system to keep them upright. Otherwise, they'll just fall over. So very important, the taproot system. So if we focus, that's the differences, but focus on your dicotyledons. The leaves are dorsiventral. They have a petiole, which is this little bit of a stem there, which attaches to this little branch which attaches to the stem. That's your petiole. It has a net venation, not long and straight, and it has varied shapes and sizes. They are any and every shape and size. Your stems, woody, and you'll see your annual rings. Vascular bundles are in a circle. Your cambium is between the xylem and the phloem, and it has a severe taproot system, which goes all the way down as far as it can. Okay, so the older it is, the bigger its stem is going to be. Okay, what I did here, I asked John to put this tree on. Now, I mean, people, I'm going to start at the top of it, and it just seems to feel like it goes on forever. And we still can't even see the tippy top of the tree. But it goes down and down and down and down and down. Now, this could be trick photography, but look at this. They're the little people. I mean, there's one, there's another one, here's another person, here's another person. So if you compare how little these people are in comparison to this tree, that tree must be thousands of years old. All right, so there you go. Now we go to the anatomy, still on the anatomy of dicotyledonous plants, we're going to look at the roots. All right, because remember, we're looking at the roots specifically, which we know is tap. We're going to look at the stem, and we are going to do the leaf and what the leaf actually does. So let's start with our roots. First thing is, in your dicotyledonous root, we have a tap root system. And as I said to you, a taproot system is very important. So, how do we make sure that this little taproot grows? And this is what I want to show you here. If there's your surface, there's your plant, we're not really worried about that. We're going to draw our taproot system. Okay? Now, this taproot has various regions which you have to know. The first one is around the bottom here. Okay? And that very, very first, stop this, very first region, if you look here, is called the root cap. And it's made up of little cells which make it slimy at the bottom of the root. And that, just think about it. If you took your finger and you stuck your finger into mud, just a muddy, watery patch, and, or a pot plant, and you take your finger and you shove your finger in there a couple of times, you're going to actually wear off the skin on your fingers. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to be able to protect ourselves, or the plant does, the root, so it doesn't get damaged as it's growing in between those sand particles, because sand particles are rough. Girls, you know, you use emery boards to file your nails. Okay, that's all sand. It's just very fine sand granules. Okay, so here is where our root cap is. Okay, now right behind that root cap is this region here, and I'm going to mark it with an X. And that region is going to be the meristematic region. Meristematic region. Now, you all know, because we've done meristematic tissue, meristematic region is where mitosis occurs, and new cells are constantly being produced. All right? So you're going to have what? Mitosis, cell division, which is cell division, mitosis, which is cell division, and new cells are being made all the time. Now, once that new cell is made, what has to happen? The cell has to now grow and get longer. So we then have the next region here, put it in here, and this region is the region of elongation. So, root cap, cells slimy and the cells slough off. Then we have the meristematic region where we are going to have cell division, new cells are being made. We have the region of elongation where the cells that have now been produced here are now going to get longer. Because remember, as these cells are being made, they push this whole root. The root will grow downwards. Okay, now right after that, so meristematic region, region of elongation, we now go to our mature region. And in this region here, it is the most important region of the root, this area here. And that area there is going to look like this. There are the sides, okay? And in here we're going to have things that come out of it here. All right? And those little things there in the region of maturation, all right, is specifically the root hair region. And people, in that little area here on a root, you're going to find that is where plus minus 85% of the water that's absorbed by a plant is absorbed in that little patch over there, because those root hairs extend and increase the surface area for absorption. But we'll look at that just now. Just remember that, all right? So, and then we have the mature region, and at the mature region, you're going to have your lateral roots. So it's wherever the lateral roots now start developing. Okay, so root cap, meristematic region for cell division, region of elongation, the cells just get bigger, and then we have the root hair region, which is where we're going to absorb most of the water, and then we have the mature region, which is where the lateral roots are going to be. All right, make sure you know the different regions and what takes place there. Not hard to learn, really. Let's just move our slide. Okay. This is the internal structure of the root. Okay, and if you look at all the labels that are here, in fact, let me go with the purple. All right, we start off from the outside and work inwards so that you don't get confused about what you've put in and what you haven't. So if we start from the outside, these little things that stick out like this, they tell you is the root hair. What is the root hair's function? It increases, let's move this up. A root hair, it increases the surface area for absorption. And that absorption would clearly be the absorption of water. People, you're in grade 10. If you learn this now, I promise you it's going to give you in your syllabus, in your year, probably 10 to 15 marks in grade 10 and 11 and 12, because you need to know the increased surface area, which makes it a better structure to absorb. It's structure versus function. If there's a loop or a twist, increased surface area for absorption, and that's exactly what the root hairs do. Remember, the root hair region accounts for 85% of the absorption of water. Okay. The next little thing that we have, or the next layer, or in that layer of the root hairs, we're going to have the epidermis. Anything with epi, it always means on top. So in plants, if it's the epidermis, it means it's the outer layer. We've got an epidermis here, which is our skin. Okay? And I mean, that's very simple. Then we move on. Next layer. Now, you'll see all of these that are done in yellow, all right? That's what we call the cortex. And remember, the cortex is made up of parenchyma. So there's your parenchyma. And what is the parenchyma doing here? It's mainly to help get the water from the root hair to the xylem. Because what was the xylem's function? Come on, I know you know. Transport water up the plant. Okay, so the cortex cells are just really there to sort of channel the water and make the water move so that it has a pathway to the xylem. And the xylem is here in that little X shape. We then have the pericycle. We have the endodermis, which is the dermis, epi on the outside, endo would be on the inside. So epidermis is on the outside, and the endodermis is on the inside. All right, now from there we go to the vascular bundle. And the vascular bundle would include the xylem and the phloem. So the whole thing is a vascular bundle. And inside that vascular bundle, you are going to find sclerenchyma cells to strengthen that vascular bundle, but you're also going to find that we have our primary xylem. And look, it's easy because it's in the shape of an X. And X for xylem. And then your phloem cells are having their own little party over here. All right. Talking about parties, Ty, how many clicks have we got there?
We're almost there. We're at 951.
951. Come on, people. We need 49 more, and let's make it 10,000. I want to see Ty do his little thing. Okay, so come on. Come on. Ty,
I think I've actually bitten off more than I can chew here.
ad break, doll, I think.
Right. Okay, so guys, you know what? You know the drill. Make sure you come back after this ad break. See you soon. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to this dope session. Guys, we're already at 955. Come on! We're almost there. Just want to say a quick shout out to Eugene, Raphael, Zoe, Kwanele. Those are the latest people who've just liked the page. And guys, I'm going to keep announcing, and I'm going to keep announcing till we get to that person who is the 10,000th liker. But for now, I have to take it back to Kathy, who's got a lesson to teach. Kathy, take it away.
See, how can I actually carry on teaching with all this hype? People, for heaven's sake, just go and click, click, tick, tick, hello, thank you, like. Let's finish this so we can actually work. Sounds so boring, hey? A real teacher, what can I say? But we'll party and we'll watch Ty do his little thingy. Okay. I'm not going to focus too much on this. You've done it again. We're looking at the epidermis. Epi on top. It's a single layer of cells. It's thin-walled. They have a large vacuole, and there is no cuticle. Why? People think, why would there be no cuticle with an epidermis that's in the roots? What is the function of a cuticle? First of all, it is waxy. All right? And if it is waxy, it is therefore water, proof. So in a test or an exam, when the teacher says to you, why have the epidermal cells or epidermis cells, why don't they have a cuticle in the root? It must just be there. It must be like, whoa, easy marks. Why? Because a cuticle would actually make it waterproof and prevent water loss. And what is the main function of a root? To anchor, sure, but the main function is to absorb and transport water. Okay, modified epidermal cells, because we have our root hairs, and where do we find them? In the region of maturation. Also the epidermis, what's its main function? To protect, and then the root hairs to increase. Now please look at this. Increase the surface area for the absorption of water and mineral salts. Okay, why? It's got a fold. So if we look at a root hair, it looks like that. And you've got all of this extension increases the surface area. Alrighty, here I've got a little picky for you. You've seen it before. There's your root, and all these little things here are your root hairs. Another one, this is just a single cell of a root hair. There you've got it. Now let me just quickly get a color here that we can all see. All right, so your root hair is here. And then it just goes all the way along here like that. No cuticle, increased surface area, nucleus, very, very large vacuole. All right, why? Because you're always going to have a lower water potential in your vacuole and a higher water potential in the soil, and that means that water will move from a higher to a lower water potential, and it's going to go through the membrane, and if it goes through the membrane, then we're talking osmosis. So here we are now going to have osmosis of the water moving in. Okay, why? Through the membrane. But we're also going to have our mineral salts, and they are going to move into the root hair by diffusion. Why? It's a higher concentration to a lower concentration. But it doesn't matter if it goes to the membrane or not, it can go along the cell walls as well. Cortex cells. Remember, they were the yellow area, they're thin-walled, they're loosely packed, and they're parenchyma cells. Now remember, if parenchyma cells have chlorophyll in them, we call them, come on, chlorenchyma. So chlorenchyma are parenchyma cells with chlorophyll. Here the parenchyma cells don't. They have lots of, and this is very important, structure versus function. They have intercellular air spaces. Inter means between, cellular is cell. So it's between the cell air spaces. And what does that do? That helps to get this water and form a passage for the water to move through the root to the xylem tissue. Why? Xylem transports the water up the plant. Okay? And then also, the function of your parenchyma is that it stores food. All right, so going back here, just quick. They're thin-walled parenchyma cells. Main function, intercellular air spaces to allow the water to move through. They are passage cells, so they push it all the way through and direct it to the xylem, and it stores food, like, for example, with a carrot. And here, just plain little parenchyma cells. You can see here that there is no chlorophyll. All right? Okay, endodermis, and this is exceptionally important. Endo, inside. Single layer of cells as well, and look at this, where your epidermis was a single layer of cells with a very thin cell wall, all right? And their main function is protection. Your endodermis was thick-walled, okay? And the walls are covered with a sheath of suberin, and suberin is waterproof. That's what you have in your xylem, and it's called your Casparian strips. Now look at these cells. They are actually going to channel. This is what they look like from the side. So you've got your endodermis, one layer. You see there's only one layer. And they've got the suberin layer all the way along here like that. And the suberin is waterproof. So what does it do? It says to the water, you can't go up through me. You can't go down through me. You can only go one direction because everything else is waterproof. You have to go through straight. So the Casparian strips in the endodermis are going to direct the water in here and out the other side. And there we go. If you look at this, you can actually see this little dark line all the way around here. I'm going to draw a green all the way past it, or just outside it. There you have your endodermis. Okay, people, and then the xylem. Make sure you know the structure versus function of the xylem vessels. We did it when we did plant tissue. All right, how are we going there?
We're actually doing not too bad. We're at
Show me,
9,
show
9,
me,
6,
show me.
8. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Keep telling your friends to like the page. But for now,
Another
guys.
32. And
Exactly.
then they've got cake. They've got cake, and I want to see him dance. All right?
So guys, make sure, tell a friend, tell another friend, to tell a friend to like the page. Guys, for now, this is us saying bye. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.